What up, YouTube? This is Steven, and I want to sound off on something right quick. All right, so have you ever noticed that, when it comes to people in the black community, they often have like certain names for skin tones that are associated with food items? Like some people might say, for a dark skin tone, they'll refer to it as chocolate. For like a medium brown skin tone, they'll refer to it as peanut butter. And for like you know, more like a beige skin tone, they might refer to it as like caramel or butterscotch, perhaps. So I'm like, okay, why are we naming ourselves or calling, skin tones like food items, edible food items? Because like we're not edible people, like you can't eat us. So why are we really like why aren't we just calling the skin tones what they are? You're dark skin, you have dark skin, you have brown skin, you have brown skin, light skin, beige skin, whatever, etc. And I guess for me, like a lot of times that really comes into play when it's referring to people with darker skin. Like it always becomes like a fetish. Like, oh, like, oh, I love me some chocolate. Like why not just say dark skin? And I know when it comes to women, especially, people refer to women's skin tone, like dark skin women's skin tone, as chocolate when they're talking about it in like a positive way, like a lot of times. And it happens with men too, but more so like definitely with women when it's a dark skinned woman. I'm like, but why can't we just call it what it is? It seems like we have to use like chocolate to make it more palatable, like to make it seem more like sexy and um, you know desirable versus just calling it dark skin. You know, I know. I think Tay Diggs wound up releasing like a children's book called Chocolate Me, and about a dark skinned boy's experience. But I'm like, chocolate me. But I'm like, the thing is, he released that book, and then he released another book, um, for his son called Mixed Me. But you notice, Mixed didn't get fetishized. Like, Mixed wasn't like turned into like some like referred to as like a food item. He wasn't like, oh, butterscotch me or oh, caramel me. Like, no, he was just like, oh, mix me, because that is more palatable. Um, but when it came to dark skin, it was like, oh, chocolate me versus oh, dark skin me. Um, and it just seems like it's like a big disservice to darker skinned people, though. In my opinion, maybe it ain't my place to say. Perhaps, to be fair, it may not be my place to even speak on this issue. So, um, you know, I'll acknowledge that. Um, but since I'm here, I might as well speak on the issue. Um, but it just seems like people say that to make darker skinned people and darker skin in general to seem more palatable, to seem more sexy, to seem more desirable. But I'm like, it's already those things without it being referred to as chocolate, you know. And it just seems like really chocolate wound up coming into existence within a couple of millennia ago. But black people have been existing since for a long time. So really, if you think about it, chocolate should probably be referred to as dark skin versus dark skin being referred to as chocolate. And it just seems like it's a bit of an insult, you know? So personally, I try not to say those terms, when referring to, women with darker skin. Um, I just like to try and call it what it is, dark skin. And there's nothing wrong with that, really. But the thing is, I think people often associate skin tone with femininity and masculinity, and darker skin probably being considered more masculine versus lighter skin being considered more feminine. So that's an issue too. Um, and I think that's part of the reason why people do that, is to make it seem a bit more, again, more palatable, especially when referring to women. Um, and also, when people use those terms, I sort of give them like a bit of a side eye, because I'm like, like, why you referring to skin tones like that? I'm thinking in my head, especially again, you notice when it comes to darker skinned people, like that comes into play. Like this is kind of like almost like a fetish, almost like you're fetishizing. I think that's the word, fetishizing or sizing a person's skin tone, you know? And I think oftentimes fetishization sort of is, when it comes to people themselves, it can be dehumanizing to fetishize a person or a person's skin tone. And black people in general, especially darker skinned black people, have been dehumanized enough in America. But then again, maybe some dark skinned people like being referred to as chocolate, but that sort of makes me think, okay, that sort of makes me want to give them the side eye too. But I guess this issue is very layered and, very nuanced, and it's like a lot goes into it. Um, so, and perhaps it isn't my place to be even discussing a topic like this. So, I'll put that out there. It might not even be my place to be discussing a topic like this, based on, the positionality that I have within society, our American society. Um, but I think it is a conversation that's worth having, at least for a moment. And also, you notice when it comes to like lighter skinned people, especially lighter skinned women, like folks usually aren't so quick to say, oh, like, oh, I like them butterscotch women. I like them caramel women, or caramel women. Like people are, or even peanut butter. Like people aren't so quick to say that when it comes to lighter skinned women or just lighter skinned people in general. People just say what it is. Like, oh, I like me a light skinned chick, a red bone. Like people, the fetishization doesn't happen. It does, like people don't seem to want to use a food item to make, you know, a lighter skinned person's skin tone more palatable. So that's something to consider too. Um, but you know, it's a complicated issue, and it's I think it's worth having a brief conversation about. Will it you know in discrimination and colorism and racism and anything like that? Probably not, but I think it'll get people to sort of, be more aware and cognizant. What's the word? And, alert, to kind of like how we can sort of subtly play into maybe stereotypes about skin tone in subtle ways, and how we can fetishize people's skin tones, which could lead to dehumanizing people as well in a subtle way, um, and like a subtle way of maybe like discriminating against the person. Um, you know. But again, it's worth having a conversation about. So what do you guys think? Feel free to let me know. Feel free to subscribe, comment, thumbs up. It's always appreciated. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.